Okay, so today I thought I'd talk at you for a little bit about how I would perform a pre-flight inspection on an RV-12 if I were going to fly one. And this is less so a checklist and more so a workflow about how I complete the checklist. So if I'm heading up to the airplane, it's cold and dark, right? I'm going to come up here to the pilot side first, lift the canopy, and I'm going to turn on my avionics with the master switch here. These guys take a minute to start up, so I'm going to let them do their thing while I'm doing that. I'm going to go ahead and check any lights I think I might need. So let's say that I'm flying at night, so I want not only the nav strobe, but I also care about the landing lights. So I'm going to turn those on, go check them, on, and on. Excellent. There's our lights checked. Okay, coming back in here, and by this time, the dynon has actually started up. I'm going to go ahead and turn our lights off. And the big thing I care about, of course, is I'm going to record my Hobbs time, so I have accurate times. Got to get them airline hours. And then I'm going to take a look at this guy. Now, this gauge is not super accurate right up here, but this one is, assuming that it's been set correctly. So this is saying 12.9 gallons. And I'm going to just cross-reference this over here, and you can see that that's reading about 2.5 gallons over half a tank. Half a tank is 10. Each thick tick is 2.5. So 10 plus 2.5 is 12.5. So my number of 12.9, that is mighty close to perfect. I'm going to say that's good. Now I'm done with the avionics, so I can go ahead and flip this guy off, or just turn the switch off if I'm not that angry at him. Then check my fuses in here. While I'm in here, of course, if there was an issue earlier with the spar pin, this would have lit up, but I check just in case. Our spar pins are connected here and here. Last thing I want to do before I leave the cockpit environment, I'll go ahead and power this guy off. If you don't do that, it'll turn off automatically, but it doesn't hurt. I'm going to go ahead and grab my fuel tester in here. All right, and then I'm standing here. I'm going to go ahead and set the fuel tester back over here, because that's where the fuel sump is. That way I don't have to carry it around constantly with me. I'm going to crouch down here, take a look first at the wheel, tire, and brake. It all looks good. There's no brake fluid around there. Connection looks good. If you're wondering what this guy is over here, that's a temperature probe. So if you've ever wanted to probe the temperature, now's your chance. This guy right here is a vane type stall indicator. And then down here, you can see we've got a angle of attack indicator. Barely see it right there. Looks like a rivet because that's basically what it is. You want to make sure that this guy moves freely and that that guy is clear. Coming along here, you can see we got the handle. This is so the wind can come and grab the wing like this and lift it into the sky. I'm pretty sure that's what that's for. No, but what the manual says is you want to shake, rock and roll this guy, make sure the wing's on there to German spec. This airplane has never had the wings taken off of it, so mechanism is mighty strong and the chances of it coming off are slim, but it's worth a check. This is the flapper on here. It's not an aileron, it's not a flap, it's both, so they came up with that real creative name. I want to make sure it moves properly, and I want to check over there. I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. All right. So I want to see that that guy points at me whenever I pull pull it up. Okay, back over here. I'm going to go ahead and sump my fuel. Let's see if I can. There we go. Now, we're running MoGas in this thing, which means it's not blue. But if you smell it, delicious. It is not jet fuel either. Jet fuel is going to smell different, and it's actually got a slightly greasier feel to it too, but I don't recommend you rub this on yourself. Anyway, this is not jet fuel. This is good old non-ethanol gasoline. Rotax prefers non-ethanol. And of course, while I'm down here, I'm going to take a quick look at these plastic brackets here. That is actually what is connecting your flapper on to the stick. So, not a bad idea to take a look. And then this guy down here is your transponder antenna. So, we're supposed to have one of those, and it's supposed to work, and guess what? We got both. So, I'm going to set this guy back up here so I don't have to carry it around with me constantly. As long as I'm over here, I'm going to take a look. There's a static port there. There's two of them, one on each side of the airplane. Here's the end number. You got a data plate there, although I'm not sure about experimental aircraft data plates. I think those work a little bit differently than the certified world. Not sure. Here's a stabilator here. Now, people are always worried about corrosion in stabilators. I'm not convinced that's a big issue on this particular design, but if you wanted to check for corrosion, you would press here with one hand and sort of rack this somewhat gently with the other. And if you heard any cracking or felt any deformation, then you know you've got corrosion. That's at least what I was told. This is old pilot knowledge that has been passed down. Doesn't take much to do, so it's worth trying, but I'm not real convinced that we're going to ever have a corrosion issue here. Stabilator, want to make sure it moves all the way up and down. Now this, let's see. I don't know if you can see that in there. Can you see the stick moving? I'll have to check in post. Who knows? I might just look like a fool. All right. Rudder moves. If you're going to grab the rudder and move it, grab it down here where it's nice and strong. Moves just fine. It's a little haunted. You can hear that. That's okay. We got this guy, which is our rudder trim. So don't worry about it being cocked like that. That's what it's supposed to be. And then, of course, this says no push. Don't push down on this. Be gentle. This right here controls both the trim and the stabilator as a whole. And so this nut is pretty important. You want to make sure it's on there to German spec, which is good and tight. So, all right. Over here, we've got another static port right there. And from afar, those things are almost invisible. So I just I look where the seam meets, and then I look there. Once again, over here, I want to take a look. First of all, our gas cap is on. Nice. Now, here's where I'd add fuel if I needed to add fuel. Airplane's holding 12.5 gallons, and she burns about 3.5. So I got, a little less than 4 hours on this airplane, which is well more than I would even think about using it today. In fact, I'm not even flying today, so I'm not going to add fuel. But if I did need to, I could flip this guy up, over, and out. Simple enough. 20 gallons. And conveniently, you can leer into the canopy and see your fuel gauge there. Focus. There we go. All right. Looking down here at our same plastic actuators there. You can see once again, when I push up, the thing points at me. That's good. Looking at just the general condition here. Looking at the same on the wing, nice and secure. Coming over here. And wheels, tires, brakes, all looking good over here. Now, you may have thought to yourself, man, no more antennas, just that transponder. Well, there are more antennas. Most of them are under this fiberglass panel here where you can't see them. which is good and bad. You can't see them, but it also means a bird's not going to come by and whack them off the airplane. Our other antenna, the only other one you can actually see, is back here. This is our ELT. It's the new 406 megahertz type, which means it works real well. Then, coming over here to the front, let's go ahead and check the oil. Open the door, get on the floor, everybody walk the dinosaur. That goes here. Notice that when that is there, you can't close this guy. Brilliant, right? Now, if you check the oil right now, it's going to read way low. So we've got to do some work here. We've got to spin the prop by hand. Now, this airplane doesn't have magnetos, so the chances of a kickback are relatively slim, but still, take a quick look over here. Everything's off. Everything's off. Okay, good. And we've got to spin it the correct direction. So a lot of you older guys are used to spinning conventional airplane engines the wrong way, so there's no chance of kickback. That won't work on this because we're trying to pump the oil into the sump by turning the engine just like it would turn if it was actually running. So grab it. I would grab it near the base where it's thicker, but of course if you grab at here, you're going to have more leverage. And turn the thing. Now, I only have one arm because I'm filming, but you get the idea. All right. I'm going to pick up recording again in a minute when I've finished. Okay, and now, unlike you wanted to hear, which was a belch from the engine, I'm going to go a little bit farther so we hear another one. Sweet music. All right. Let's check this guy. We generally like to be about halfway on the flat. And wouldn't you know, that's about perfect. Dripping oil all over the place. So, all right. Done checking the oil. Let's get this guy back on. In here. And there we go. Now, this genius contraption is a pitot tube cover. We want to make sure the pitot tube is nice and clear. You are legally required to bounce the ball at least once before you put it over here in the bucket. Now, I'm over here. I can see some chocks, so that's not going to be conducive to flying. I'm going to move the first one. There's no need to move the other one. Over here, I'm going to take a good look at the front of the airplane, all the inlets. You've got cooling. This is a radiator for your cylinder heads. You've got engine air intake, and you've got, that's basically electronics cooling over there. And then you've got oil cooler right down there. Once again, looking at the tire over here and the wheel, looks pretty good to me. Last thing over here to check is the exhaust. Now, this exhaust is technically mounted on a little spring, so there can be a little bit of play in it, but there shouldn't be much. If there's a lot of play in it, you've got a problem, and you're probably going to have a carbon monoxide issue. All right. Then we come around here, we're back at the start, and then now is the time when I would check my checklist and make sure I actually did everything correctly. Okay, so I just checked my checklist. Everything is good, but make very sure before you go fly, don't forget about this guy down here. Grab him, put him back, otherwise that thing's going to go flying once you start up. Ask me how I know. All right, that's it from me.